Today on the Paul Harrell program, President Trump has signaled he's going into Chicago to clean up the streets. This after the city saw a violent Labor Day weekend where 54 people were shot and 7 were killed. Also, RFK Jr. held his own during a congressional hearing as Big Pharma puppet senators tried to stop him from exposing the medical industrial complex's obvious corruption. Also, Senator Tim Kaine apparently believes that the wording of the American founding was a theocratic mistake because our forefathers believed that rights come from God and not government. He said that we're no different than the theocratic government of Iran, in quite a mask-off moment. The Paul Harrell program starts right now.
The Paul Harrell program.
All right, as always, I'm joined by my co-host. We got Rob Spencer with us. Rob, always great to have you, sir.
Paul, it is an honor to be in for our last show of the week. Unfortunately, we do not do a show on Friday. Maybe we'll start doing that. I don't know.
There are definitely plans.
Yes, we'll see what happens there. But oh my goodness, so much happening today. What we see is RFK went to the Senate and masterfully just called out these senators, the Democrat senators, and their complete BS. He went in there and obliterated them, and he basically just told them. There was multiple times where he just said, "You're just making stuff up.
Yeah,
you're literally all this stuff that you're saying. You're literally just making crap up.
Yeah,
And then Pritzker, fat ass. I mean, I'm a large guy too, so I probably shouldn't talk about somebody's weight, but good grief, this guy, just makes me so angry. Like he has one of those most punchable faces,
Yeah, did you see where Donald Trump tweeted an AI video or on Truth Social an AI video of Pritzker as a sumo wrestler and
I did not.
Chris Christie as a sumo wrestler?
I did not see that.
And they were both, oh man.
Who would win that?
I don't know, but they were both struggling. It was really weird. This is where the AI, the deepfakes, they just make me so uncomfortable.
I know,
but
right?
even though it was funny, it just
so fun. Well, so Pritzker and his what's his cousin who come out, who's like trans, who literally just looks like a female version of him.
Oh, really?
Not a female version, like female in the sense that it just looks like Pritzker in a wig.
Yeah,
that's honestly what it looks like. So anyway. Pritzker's like, Donald Trump keeps begging me, to call him, and I'm not going to call you. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just see what Trump does. He talked about sending the National Guard into New Orleans, which is a Democratic governor of Louisiana. New Orleans is the bluest of the blue states. There is no mincing any words of there. So if the governor can call him in, boom. Then everybody talks about the blue states and blue states versus red states in crimes. It's blue cities is what is the problem. And a lot of those blue cities are in red states. We've talked about this stuff. And so I think what Trump should do is send them to New Orleans, send them to Memphis, Tennessee, send them to Little Rock, Arkansas, where Sarah Huckabee Sanders is there. Like, send them to these blue cities inside red states where the governors are on board with that.
I think it would be great.
Let the numbers speak, and then let's see what Fat Boy Pritzker says then.
No, I think you're right. I think that would be great. Memphis, Little Rock, St. Louis,
Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah,
Jackson, Mississippi. Do not. Oh yeah, we've driven through there multiple times on the way to the beach. You don't stop in Jackson, Mississippi.
It's one of those cities.
I'm not trying to say anything.
No, it's one of those cities where you just step on the accelerator and you just try to get through.
You make sure you've got gas before that. You just don't want to get robbed.
Exactly right. There's a really nice city. I can't remember what it's called right before Jackson, Mississippi, and it's really nice. It's
Is that Tupelo?
No, it's not Tupelo. It's a community suburb right outside of Jackson. And
okay.
It's super nice. It's the type of nice where all their fast food restaurants aren't allowed to have the traditional signs. You have to have signs that.
Yeah, I don't know where that's at, but
I can't remember it. But anyway, that's where you stop, and then you go through Jackson.
Yeah, which is like a whole nother world.
But here we go. Charlie Kirk reporting a major immigration enforcement operation surge is imminent in Chicago. He links to this Fox News report from earlier today. Let's listen to it.
In Chicago, Mike.
And, Bill, we know that some federal staff is already at the Great Lakes Naval Base north of Chicago, and Illinois Senators Tammy Duckworth and Dick Durbin are demanding that the Secretary of the Navy provide them with some information for how that base is going to be used. And then a meeting of North Suburban leaders was told that some 300 federal agents are expected in Chicagoland. Now, the mayor of Broadview, a suburb to the west of Chicago, issued a letter stating that a building there will be used as primary processing facility for operations, which could last for 45 days. And law enforcement should be ready for protests, even destruction of property. Tom Homan, border czar under President Trump, argues that sanctuary policies pushed by Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker forced them to zero in on places like Chicago.
We're going to flood the zone. Sanctuary cities, I've said it 1,000 times, they're going to get exactly what they don't want: more agents in the communities and more worksite enforcement. Because they won't let us arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a county jail, so more collateral arrests are going to occur in sanctuary cities because you forced us into the community.
That's right.
So we kind of have a union here. There's two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Obviously the sanctuary city aspect of it, but then you also have the violent crime. You could make the argument just sending ICE there is going to disincentivize the violent crime, but there's still also talk of him sending the National Guard in, just like he did in D.C.
Yeah, so what we're seeing right now, in my opinion, is Trump continuing to find workarounds to, D.C. was different, right? So he could send the National Guard in there without anybody's approval because he controls D.C. as the commander-in-chief. But to send troops, National Guard troops, into there's
got to be a national emergency declared.
There has to be something. There has to be something, and so he could declare that, or that would go up to the because DC is even filing lawsuits to try to get the National Guard out of there. Like, how dare you stop all these murders? When your liberal lunacy is so ingrained in you.
This is why they this is why they call the left a death cult. I mean, it's because it's not just this issue, but really and truly so much of their policies. It's hard not to come to the conclusion that they would rather people die.
Oh God,
over politics.
Why not? Right? Because Trump man, Orange man, bad.
Yeah.
Right? Anything that Trump does, and we see it. We see it on the comments. We see it anywhere online in the cesspool of liberal lunacy here, where you're just trying to say, "Well, how dare you? You've circumvented the Constitution. You saved people's lives." How many rapes, murders, how many robberies, armed robberies, assaults, how many of those were corrected in D.C.? And we're going to continue to see these numbers come out here. And it just harkens back to what I was saying, and that is Trump needs to put that display on where he can legally throughout the Constitution. I was listening to Megyn Kelly today. Megyn Kelly was just like, I back Trump. I agree with all this stuff, However, he cannot circumvent the Constitution and just send the National Guard into Chicago, And I as much as the Chicago residents, like when he was, what's the word, teasing it.
Yeah.
You would hear all the CBS News, who is so left at this point, and you would read the comments, and people from Chicago were like, "Please send them."
Yes.
Please send them.
They're being terrorized.
And we're seeing that now for New Orleans. Like, if you go on there, it's like the first 100 comments are people from New Orleans like, please come in here and correct this crime problem. We can't walk down the street. And so I think Trump needs to continue to do that. Go into these blue cities inside red states that he can, if the governor will bring him in there, show what he can do, and then that's really going to put pressure on places like Illinois.
Well, we'll see. I don't know if he's going to do that. I think everything I'm reading says this is imminent. He's just going to do Chicago next.
Honestly, the ICE stuff, might be the workaround.
Yeah, it might be.
Because he may not physically actually send the National Guard in there, but good grief, can he? Yeah. He might deputize the National Guard as ICE agents and send them in there.
You never know.
What if that happens?
This is his thought process, though, because when you get to the constitutional concerns, I understand, but you can also make an argument that the Constitution hasn't really mattered. I mean, the only time the Constitution matters is when the left wants to get their way. And then, or they want to stop what the right is doing, rather. And then the Constitution doesn't matter when they want to get their way.
No, it's threats to democracy when you're the one trying to take somebody off ballots.
Here is Trump yesterday talking about that.
Lined up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in.
I didn't say when we're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot, Peter. You're safe.
Even the leftists are saying that.
Well, we're going.
You know, there are a lot of lefties who live in D.C. that are saying, thank you. I can actually take my family out to a dinner and not worry that I'm going to get carjacked on the way, and that my vehicle, let's just say I make it there without getting carjacked, my vehicle doesn't get broken into, and as we're walking to the restaurant, we don't get mugged or assaulted.
Yeah.
Like, there are people, and the people that are like, we don't want you here, we don't want you here. Those are the hardcore anti-whatever Trump does, no matter what. So much so, good grief, I saw an activist who was taking a date home at 4 a.m. So they were like leaving a wedding, and they were taking a date home. This was New York City, I believe. And he is a social justice warrior. Right, that was what he was all about the social justice and a cashless bail and all of that stuff. And he was attacked senselessly on the streets by a man and stabbed, and he ended up dying from the very people he was trying to save. And at what point are you going to walk up there and say, with your hands opened, and say, I was wrong? I was wrong, because what I am fighting for is a myth. It's a pipe dream.
Yeah, it's not reality. It's a fantasy land.
You can't just arrest these people, let them go with cashless bail because the system is working against them, and then they get arrested again later that day, and it's just the system working against them, and they go out and they commit their third crime of the day, which happens all the time in these blue lunatic cities. It happens.
Yeah.
And so what Trump is trying to do, you can say it's all about politics, but
well,
he's cleaning up the streets.
Here's my question here, and this kind of goes back to when Trump says obligation. I have an obligation. You hear the left or the right or a political. I want to be the president for all Americans. Yes, I'm running in this party, but I want to be the president for all Americans. This is potentially we're going to see that actually play out here, because let's be honest, if Trump just sends the National Guard to Chicago, nothing's going to happen to him. People are going to say, "Oh, you can't do that. That constitutional or constitution this."
Well,
they'll file a lawsuit, but whatever.
They'll spend Illinois tax dollars trying to fight it.
My point is nothing is actually going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so, if that's your mentality,
well, he's not going to get impeached over it.
Right?
It's not
and
an
if you
impeachable
believe,
offense.
and if you believe that the Constitution really hasn't mattered for like 100 years in this country anyway, and very, very much it hasn't, because the judicial branch has destroyed it.
Well, even more so, or more so in the last 8 years.
Right. And so if you're the president of the United States and you value human life, we're talking about the same guy that in his first term called off a strike on an Iranian base in Syria, I think, or because Iran shot down an unmanned drone. Because at the last minute, Trump said, how many people were going to kill? And they're like, 500 people. He's like, it was just an unmanned drone. I don't think that's worth 500 lives. And so he disappointed the neocons and called off the attack. That's the guy we're talking about here. So if you've got the authority,
but he's unhinged,
right?
Paul.
He's totally unhinged. But if you've got the power and authority to save American lives in the inner city of Chicago, and you just don't do it because of the Constitution, and look, the me of 15 years ago would have hated the me of today based on that statement alone. I don't know, though. I think we're getting down to practical. Like, practically speaking, you have the authority and you have the ability to save lives, and you're not going to do it. How do you sleep at night? I think that's where he's coming from. To your point about people now protesting this, a lot of the people protesting this are white liberals.
Yeah.
And that's what is pretty funny here. This tweet from
phenomenal.
Kenny Rogers. Over 90% of the shooting victims in Chicago are black or Hispanic.
Which we know that that's the case.
It is what it is. And a lot of it's
Even
black on black crime.
the liberal lunatics admit that.
Now, here's a whole bunch of white people today in Chicago. This was a few days ago, protesting against President Trump sending in troops to stop the over 90% black and Hispanic victims from continuing to get shot.
But we're racist, Paul.
I know.
You and I, as conservatives, are racist.
The racist part in the white liberals' mind is acknowledging that there is a very serious black on black crime problem in the city of Chicago. Admitting that fact to them is, oh, no, you can't admit that there are racial disparities when it comes to violent crime statistics.
I think if you had a questionnaire, an honest, anonymous questionnaire, okay, not what you would want someone to think of your answers. Put someone in the KKK, have them answer that questionnaire, and have a 65-year-old white liberal woman answer that questionnaire. And I want you to look at the two answers and determine who do you think is the most racist.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee you that 65-year-old white woman who is a raging liberal lunatic her answers are going to be worse than that KKK person, simply for the fact that hers, and Malcolm X even said it. Malcolm X said, there's nothing worse than the white liberal who is the savior, because at least the conservatives say what they think. And the least you know where the conservatives stand. The liberals are like, oh, you're too stupid to have internet.
Yeah, that's exactly what Biden
You're
said.
too stupid to have an identification.
Yeah.
We can't ID you at polling locations. You're just a black, stupid person. Yeah. That's what liberals do.
Yeah, they do. You're exactly right. And on that internet comment from back in the day, I don't know if it was Biden. I think it was Biden, or it was somebody, about the internet. And there was this black YouTuber or something that made a video of himself hopping around the room like a primate. With a laptop.
Oh, yeah. He's like hitting
poking at the laptop, can't figure out how to use it. I think he had the 2001 Space Odyssey music behind him too. It was
how in the world are black people that go and vote Democrat not look at the people standing next to them with the Harris Waltz hats on?
Well, there was a back. This was years ago. I think it was South Carolina. They attempted to strip. I think it was under the Obama administration. The state of South Carolina wanted to remove the party labels on ballots. Mm-hmm. And the Eric Holder got involved and said this was some sort of voting rights issue, that you can't do that. And I was like, what does that say about the populace that they're trying to go vote for? That they can't just go in and vote for the person?
Yeah.
The only thing they can remember is Democrats?
So Eric Holder in the Obama administration, a raging liberal lunatic, says, you can't take the D or the R next to away. Subtext. Because our voters are too stupid to know which ones are the Democrats. That's what it is. Now, I don't believe that.
Right.
I know that's not the case. Now, is that the case that there are some people who go and they mark
of
R
course. Yeah.
no matter what, and D no matter what? Yeah, absolutely. But if that wasn't the option, you would research it, and black people have access to the internet. Quit with this crap. You white liberals are the most racist people. I would like to have an honest conversation with people like Charlemagne the God, or all of these liberal leftists who just believe that all the white people are racist, and ask them, what do you really think about white liberals? And I guarantee you, the majority of them can't stand them.
Wow.
They cannot stand them because they are like, I don't need you to save me.
Yeah.
I don't need you to save me. You are not my quote-unquote white knight. You're not, okay? I'm not an idiot. I have an identification. I know where the polling locations are. I'm not being manipulated. Unfortunately, some people are.
Yeah.
They're watching CNN, they're watching MSNBC, and they're being manipulated about this stuff. But you are literally voting for the party that formed the KKK.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
I like it. I like your passion. But to this idea of the National Guard, I think turnaround is fair play here. Dismissing the constitutional concerns, putting those aside. Do you guys remember in the state of Minnesota where Tim Walz decided to deploy the National Guard during COVID to keep people in their homes?
No, this didn't happen.
I think we need,
This is fake. This is AI.
in the context of what we may be about to witness here in Chicago, we need to remember that this is what we lived through. Because I feel like this is way worse to treating law-abiding citizens this way versus actually going after criminals
This
and
is
illegal
straight up
aliens.
what was happening in Australia, where
Yep.
because they had no guns to defend themselves.
They had camps in Australia.
You had COVID camps in Australia. You are absolutely right about that. This is what we're also seeing in the UK when you speak out against immigration here. This Gestapo
Remember this video.
communism.
National Guard patrolling
They
neighborhoods
just
in
keep
Minnesota.
coming.
Here it is. Listen up.
Oh, go inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get in your house now! Let's go! Light him up! Go inside now! Get in the house!
Get in, get in, get in, get in, get in, get in. Get in.
No, that's a foreign country.
And,
that didn't happen in Minnesota.
In light of RFK today, going into that Senate hearing and literally going over how the CDC and the FDA lied and cheated to, and lied to the American people about COVID or about masks or about the vaccine going to stop transmission, which it didn't. All of those things, and yet, this is what the left is actually capable of. So just keep all of that in mind, and I get it. You might be afraid, well, tit for tat is going to spiral out of control. Well, at this point, to not expect a counter reaction to try to actually get real law and order restored. I mean, this is just where we are right now, and that's why I keep saying that a lot of these people who are responsible for this behavior have got to suffer the consequences, or when they do get back in power, it will be worse for those of us on the right. But here we are. And I'm here for it.
At a certain point, did these police officers who swore an oath to the Constitution, did they not step back and say, has a 99 point such and such survival rate?
I
99
man.
point something percent survival rate.
Well,
we are being instructed to fire upon our own citizens. You want to talk about what Donald Trump is doing with the National Guard and cleaning up crime? Donald Trump is having the National Guard deter murder. You, Governor Tim Walz, idiot, you are having the police force say you can't even walk outside of your home.
This video says it was the National Guard and the Minneapolis PD. So
Okay,
maybe that was just the Minneapolis PD. But to your point, like I've been saying this for a while, like and I don't mean to generalize, but I think it goes to show you like how valuable it is to have Christians in the military and Christians in law enforcement. How many I grew up in church. How many police officers were in my congregation? Very, very few. I think I can think of two ever, and I don't know. It just has always made me think like, man, we really need people with who are Christians that would not execute unlawful tyrannical orders if they were put in that position. Because I'm just going to say it. I firmly believe if you're not a Christian and you're in that situation, you're far more likely to go along to get along.
Well, there's nothing more telling than when these people were outside filming, and what did they say? Light them up.
Light them up?
Light them up. You mean to tell me that the Minneapolis Police Department, as well as the National Guard, are lighting up its own citizens, the citizens of that state, citizens of that city, because they were outside?
Yeah, because of COVID.
Answer that, liberals. Give me some. Oh well, it was a deadly disease.
But we all now know it wasn't, and we know that we know that it was all. There were so many lies, and it's like people just want to forget it.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about people being outside. Like, okay, so you can't come outside of your home. They're standing on the balcony of their home, their own home, outside, And you're saying that can't happen. We saw police officers trying to chase people who were jogging on the beach
I know.
by themselves. And it was so funny when they were trying to chase a jogger down and they couldn't catch him, right? We've probably all seen that video.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, no, this stuff didn't happen. That's Australia. You know, it just didn't happen. It was literally happening here in the United States. I've said it before. You and I were talking about it. If COVID was a test run on how to control a nation,
They got a good
we
sample.
failed.
Yeah.
And we failed. We failed it with a Republican president in office. We failed miserably. What the ruling class found was that we could be controlled.
Well, and I would also say this, I wanted Donald Trump during the burn, murder, loot, the BLM protests, the Summer of Love, the George Floyd. I wanted Trump to send the National Guard in those cities then.
Oh, sure.
American people were not ready for it the way they are now, though.
Oh, no. Yeah, well,
You know what
because
I mean?
if you were to go burn down city, I'm going to give the American people a little bit of credit. If they try to come out with some COVID stuff right now,
yeah.
I mean, we'd be like, no, not doing it. Not doing it.
You're exactly right.
The blue
So
states,
then
the
you
blue
gotta-
states would be like, oh,
Well,
God,
so then I
give
think
me the
like, okay,
mask.
well, so what's the if another pandemic isn't the answer? What's another thing that they can get us to be afraid? This was so much. It was based in fear. So
Everything
much
is
of it.
everything is fear porn, and what we saw that with RFK today. Once we get to that point, all it is, everything that they talk about is creating this ultimate sense of fear, and none of it is based in fact.
Speaking of fear, Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, he is afraid that Donald Trump sending the National Guard to Chicago is going to suppress voter turnout.
How is that possible?
I don't know. Listen to this.
This is a part of his plan to do something really nefarious, which is to interfere with elections in 2026. He wants to have troops on the ground to stop people from voting, to intimidate people from going to the voting booth. So take note. That is what this is all about.
Who intimidate who?
It's interesting. Yeah, I mean,
Intimidate who? Paul?
why would legal voters be afraid to go vote?
We talked about this yesterday. You or I going to the polling locations are not going to be afraid.
I'm not.
We're not going to be afraid. I was born in Arkansas, as were you, I'm assuming. And last I checked, Arkansas was in the United States, which makes me a U.S. citizen.
Me too, yeah.
I'm over 18, as are you. So we are legally, we're neither one of us are felons, right? We're legally allowed to vote.
Yep.
Okay?
And if ICE was there, I wouldn't be afraid.
I mean, I'm not.
gonna
What
show
are they going to
up,
deport me
cast
to?
my vote.
They're going to deport me to Paragould,
So I mean,
Arkansas?
we're
I don't know.
but we're already seeing like in voter registrations across states, like Republicans are now beating Democrats in areas where they never did, and so you got to wonder: is the enforcement of immigration law in these sanctuary cities, is it going to radically change? The voting, the way it breaks down, it very well could.
I don't know, and honestly, it should, because what we see here I would put it in where there's a high concentration of illegals. Okay, so these are blue states, blue cities. Anywhere that there's a high, even if it's in a red state and a red city, if there's a high concentration of illegals there, put ICE at these polling locations. Also, as I've said before, we have a little over a year where the Republicans are in control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. If they do not pass a voter reform law for nationwide elections that state that you have to have proof of citizenship, you have to have a proof, you have to have ID, you have to have something to prove that you are legally allowed to vote. If they don't do that on a nationwide stand, then this is an opportunity lost. And what we're going to see in 2026 is a blue wave, because we know that this liberal media machine is going to be, oh, look at this, he's a dictator and this and that, right? They're gonna give. I mean, it's a slim margin right now in the House. Yeah. They're going to give the Democrats control back of the House, and therefore nothing's going to happen in Trump's last 2 years.
Well, they're going to impeach him again.
Well, they're going to impeach him again, which would be foolhardy unless they got the Senate. I mean, what if they got the House and the Senate in 2026?
It's going to be a nightmare.
You're going to be kicking yourself for not getting this voter reform changed. And And I think that, you just say, well, states control their elections. Yeah, but if that state is dictating what's happening on the national level, then the nation gets a say. If you are in California and Californians are allowing multiple voters, like multiple votes per person, right, where you can go to this district and vote and you go to this district and vote, If that's happening, if people who are not allowed to vote legally, meaning someone who is here as an illegal or whatever, and you're not allowed to vote in these elections, if that is happening in California, it affects us here in Arkansas. It absolutely does. Because if a person wins a House race in California and that sends the Democrats over where they now have the majority, well, then Hakeem Jeffries is the Speaker of the House and not Mike Johnson.
Yep.
That affects us here in Arkansas. So yes, we get a say.
And then all of a sudden, our own Congressman Rick Crawford, who's the chair of the Intel Committee, is now no longer going to be the chair.
He's not going to be the chair. And Tom Cotton, who is on the Senate Intel Committee.
Yeah.
Like we lose that power here in the state of Arkansas because you did something illegal in another state.
No, it's absolutely. Now, I think Trump is trying to do some election reform with the mail-in ballots, and then he's going to take on the mail-in ballots head on, because that's.
Well, I think they got to do it sooner rather than later, because if they don't, then there's going to be court challenges, and they're going to say, well, there's not enough time before 2026.
Yeah. Well, no, what they also need to do is, in 2026, if there's clear evidence out there like we had in 2020, you would hope that the Trump Justice Department moves swiftly and actually puts people in handcuffs.
Well, you had states like Pennsylvania that literally broke its own constitution in the 2020 election, and you want to say that it wasn't rigged. Yep. You want to say that, okay, wait a minute. You went against your state's constitution because it benefited Joe Biden.
Yeah.
That happened in 2020. So you can say, well, oh gosh, it's not rigged. It's not rigged. What did we see in Fulton County in Georgia? The same thing. Does anybody believe that Joe Biden legitimately won the state of Georgia? There is no freaking way that you believe that Joe Biden did that, because where was the problem? In blue Fulton County, which is Atlanta.
Yeah. Not to mention that all of these swing state counties all decided to quit counting at the same time across multiple time zones.
Correct.
And said, we're going to resume
We had a water
later.
leak.
Yeah.
How many freaking water leaks happened on the night of the election in 2020? Why are you putting up the barriers so that people can't see inside? Listen, crime happens in darkness, okay? If you're open and exposed, what do you care? Why do you care if someone sees what's going on? Why are only Republicans expelled on polling locations? When you say you have to have these poll watchers, Republican and Democrats, why are the Republicans the only ones expelled? And they are expelled for challenging ballots.
Yeah.
They don't like what they're seeing. How can mail-in ballots be not folded? Right? So that means they weren't put in a mailbox. How can they not be folded and they were received back in sequential order? And they're all for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
You want to tell me that crap didn't happen? It 100% happened. And you know why it happened? Because Donald Trump was Satan to them. So it wasn't cheating. It wasn't cheating. It was the greater good.
The right thing to do. All right, let's get into the RFK. RFK Jr. today went into the Lion's Den, faced off with Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders. It was an interesting thing, though. Like, Bernie Sanders basically admitted that everybody in Congress takes money from Big Pharma. And RFK's the lone guy that's calling this out and saying, yeah, that's why all these bureaucratic agencies are captured by the industries that are supposed to regulate them. Went up against Elizabeth Warren, told Elizabeth Warren, didn't you take $850,000 from Big Pharma, and yet you're up here simping for the vaccine?
This stuff up. Yeah. And you're like, no, I'm not.
But this was this right here was a very eye-opening moment, and it really exposes a lot of this. Because
I've not seen this.
Everyone is expecting RFK's vaccine autism report on why autism is increased. And this is one of the real reasons I think we've got this coordinated effort right now to oust RFK Jr. They're trying to get him to resign.
Sure.
CDC employees are quitting. They're also being fired. But this was one example of how our own government agencies, when they get results from studies they don't like, they suppress the study. They suppress the parts of the study they don't like, and then put out the full the study they release that makes everything look great with Big Pharma. Here's RFK talking about how the MMR vaccine actually showed a racial disparity with black boys getting autism.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just tell you one example, and I could sit here and give you thousands. But in 2002, CDC did an internal study of Atlanta and Fulton County, Georgia children, and looked at children who got the MMR vaccine on time and compared those to kids who got them later. So in other words, kids who got them before 36 months and kids who got them afterward. The data from that study showed that black boys who got the vaccine on time had a 260% greater chance of getting an autism diagnosis than children who waited. The chief scientist on that, Dr. William Thompson, the senior vaccine safety scientist at CDC, was ordered to come into a room with 4 other co-authors by his boss, Frank DiStefano, who's the head of the immunization safety branch, and ordered to destroy that data. And then they published it without that fact.
Now think about this. So this is just one of many. RFK has the receipts on so much of this stuff. This is just one example.
He said 260% increase. Think about how many black men, boys and then men, are dealing with autism simply because the government and the CDC told them, get this vaccine way sooner than what you need it.
And it's not even that. I mean, it's that, but then it's also, in order to enroll in public schools, many public school districts require you to get these shots.
Well, I mean, just a couple of years ago. Go ahead, Paul.
No, I just think about, if this is ever, and I said this earlier today, if this is ever common kitchen table fact, where it's just like you're sitting around a dinner table with your family and everybody knows that the MMR vaccines or these other vaccines that you get that are totally different than the schedules that we got when we were growing up in the 80s, or that other people got in the 70s. When they realize this, like if his data comes out in September and shows this, what are the? I mean, outrage doesn't even begin to describe it when you're talking about your kids, man. And what our own government was doing to our kids, and they knew about this. This shows intent. This shows intent to suppress the data and give something that they know is going to harm somebody.
So why would they do it, Paul? Why would they do it? You know exactly why they would do it. It's the big green evil monster known as money.
It's money.
It is.
Yep.
It is. If we tell the doctors that this has to happen via CDC guidelines, if we tell the physicians, like, you've got to give this on schedule at such and such time, we know that the makers of that vaccine are guaranteed that these people these young kids under the age of 36 months, so under the age of 3, are getting this vaccine. And we saw the same BS during COVID. So what do you mean that they wouldn't do it? Like, why would I not, as a vaccine maker, if I'm a Pfizer, if I'm a Johnson & Johnson, what was the other one? There was a third. Moderna. Yeah. If I'm a vaccine maker, why wouldn't I want those to be done? Like, I want every kid to get these because that is more money in my pocket. And we saw it. We saw it over and over. And all RFK is saying is we had studies to say that maybe this wasn't the best thing to do. Maybe it wasn't the best thing to do because when you look at, like, you and I realize, we all see this, white people don't get sickle cell, okay? Right? That is a genetic trait that is going to be exclusive to someone who is African American, right? So at the very least, we know that there are differences between the DNA makeup of white people and black people. We get that, right? Our skin tone, all of this stuff. Okay, the moisture, like I don't have hair, but when I had hair, like my hair was greasy, right? I had to wash it all the time. Versus an African American who doesn't have to wash their hair as much, right? It's because of the genetic makeup, the chemical makeup of a person. So what he is saying is that this MMR proved that in boys that it was detrimental to get this prior to 36 months versus waiting. Like if they told a parent, hey, we're going to go ahead and give this to your 6-month-old, it's going to give them a 260% chance more of having autism. How many vaccines would have been given?
Yeah.
Because even if you are a vaccine pumper, you believe in the vaccine, all of that stuff, if you are a parent in Fulton County, which is where this study came from, if you're a parent in Fulton County, there is zero chance that you are giving that
100%.
MMR vaccine
So they're robbing
to your
us,
kid.
yeah, robbing us of,
right? And they knew
informed
that crap.
consent. Yeah.
And they knew it. And it's criminal.
No, it is.
And he sat there and got just slaughtered for stuff like this, and it's criminal. And I want to say a big F you to Democrats who are taking money from these pharmaceutical companies, and Republicans are doing it too. Okay, it's on both sides. But the Democrats that are taking money from them, like an Elizabeth Warren, who sat there and absolutely tried to pin him in and slaughter this man when all he is trying to do, his lifelong mission, is to create an environment where kids don't have all of these problems that are caused by chemicals, whether it be in the vaccines or in our food. He is trying to save the children of America.
What we're witnessing is, I agree with you, Rob, and what we're witnessing here is essentially, what was considered outlandish conspiracy theory 20 years ago and this is why it's so difficult to get these people to admit it, because like you said, the money, big pharma,
it's too much money,
big food, they just don't want to admit that they've poisoned America. And that's what they've done. And they've either poisoned America because of the almighty dollar, which is certainly, or it's even more nefarious and they knew what they were doing.
Oh, they knew.
To destroy the country. And what I mean by that is, when you have boys, and because it's not just African American boys, there are also studies that show autism is these shots are apparently affecting boys in a much higher rate than girls. Then you have a national security crisis because we have to be able to field a military. We have to be able to, and we there's no room in the military for autistic soldiers. Okay, there's just not. I mean, there may be some, but
what does it do? Yeah, and what does it do to the fertility rates of men if we're talking about all of this stuff?
And if you want to go down an even scarier rabbit hole, go research the amount of trans people who are also autistic. And then you start to really think.
Wow. I haven't gone that one.
And even more. No, I mean it's a noticeable data point where there are a lot of people who have succumbed to I'm trans, I'm in the wrong body, and they're also autistic. And so then if in September, which is September now, if this month we learn that there is this direct correlation, which many people with their own experiences believe so, like my kid was talking and babbling, and then they got the shots, and then silence, and there was a change from then on. Like there's tons of parents that have these stories out there, and we've been told that we're crazy or we're anti-science or we're anti-vaccine. How about we're just looking out for our own kids? And this is what could unite a complete and total health revolution in this country. Again, if it's ever kitchen table fact, when you go after your kids, who cares about the donkey or the elephant? If these people have done this and our kids have suffered in these great numbers, watch out. That's all I got to say. Watch out.
And Paul, we're not trying to say, like, people that would watch this and be like, well, you're just not trusting the science. And, like, science is never settled.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay? Science is never settled. And I can tell you this. Once you are going after our children and you are saying that money is more important than the health and safety of our children, you are going to see, to your point, the claws come out of all the parents.
Yep.
And we're not trying to say that we as conspiracy theorists are correct about this. We're not trying to say that Robert F. Kennedy is completely correct about this stuff. But it was the same kind of BS that was stifled during the COVID-19 vaccine.
Yep.
You won't even let us ask the question.
Yep, it exposed it all. Yeah.
If you are stifling even dialogue about it, you mean to tell me that you're in the right and you are stifling conversations and questions about it? Bullshit.
Yeah, so
you are not right.
So if you're not allowed to question, like that's who's really in control. Those that you're not allowed to question, then you know who your master truly is.
Exactly.
Here's RFK Jr., another clip from earlier today.
You can characterize it any way you want. I quoted them today. What I said was accurate. What you said were lies. You described people moving the Titanic.
Are you saying that the mRNA vaccine has never been associated with myocarditis or pericarditis in teenagers? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I am simply trying to say that the people that you have put on that panel, after firing the entire...
You're evading the question.
No, I'm asking the questions here.
Yes, no, you're evading the questions.
I asked you a question.
I'm a Kennedy, sir.
Yeah.
I should be in that chair.
I'm the captain now.
Questions for Mr. Kennedy. On behalf of parents and schools and teachers all over the United States of America who deserve so much better than your leadership. That's what this conversation is about, Mr. Chairman.
Senator, they deserve the truth, and that's what we're going to give them for the first time in the history of that agency.
So this is the rub, the truth for the first time in the history of the agency. Here is Kennedy again. I think this was in his early testimony, just essentially talking about
master class.
Like he's talking about how, yes, I'm firing these people because they screwed up and they haven't protected the health of Americans.
This morning, I got the latest numbers from CDC that 76.4% of Americans now have a chronic disease. This is stunning.
3/4.
When my uncle was president, it was 11%. 1950, it was 3%. Today, it's 76.4%. 8 out of 10 of our kids cannot qualify for military service. This is a national security issue. When my uncle was president, we spent 0 on chronic disease. Today, we spend $1.3 trillion. It's the biggest cause. It's increasing. And all of the arguments that Republicans and Democrats have about single payer, Obamacare, or with various ways of allocate the health dollars, they're all like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. If we don't end this chronic disease, we are the sickest country in the world. That's why we have to fire people at CDC. They did not do their job. This was their job to keep us healthy.
Thank you,
and I need to fire some of those people to make sure this doesn't happen again.
I absolutely agree.
I'm glad he didn't get cut off on that last part.
This is what the American people have been wanting. The media is going to skew it, but we've wanted accountability for lifelong government bureaucrats.
Yeah,
I've wanted it my entire life. Ever since I've been in politics, so my entire career, this is all I've wanted.
I'm telling you, if you're sitting here criticizing this man, and you are trying to say that he is trying to kill. I saw a tweet or whatever it was. Maybe a Tim Kaine, this complete loser. He was talking about like you're killing Americans. And it was the protesters. That's what it was. You're killing millions of people. Like you literally think that his objective is to kill kids. You have a mental health problem if that's what you believe. And I'm going to say shame on any media outlet who pushes that BS lie.
So on that point, there are people on the right that believe that. This is another example of how both sides believe they have the moral high ground.
Yeah.
One of the CDC employees that resigned recently, the guy that is in the BDSM outfits. I can't remember his name. It's Deladian or something like that. He went on Martha Raddatz show over the weekend, and in his statement when he resigned, that's what he said, that Kennedy is deliberately trying to harm children. And so I thought that was interesting that that's now what the left is saying after we lived through the last 5 years. And there are people on the right that also believe that the status quo has been deliberately trying to harm children. And again, the easiest answer is it's for the almighty dollar. But I thought it was interesting that the left is now saying that's what Kennedy's trying to do, because there are people on the right that believe this has been an active not just with the vaccines, not just with the medical industrial complex, not just with the big pharma drugs that keep you on this hamster wheel, never actually solve your problem, also with food, also with big ag, and the whole lot. There's a reason, again, I got friends that can have all the dairy they want in Europe, but they can't eat any of the dairy here, right?
Right.
So anyway, it's a big deal.
And we saw, and to your point there, we saw the fact check from the New York Times when Robert F. Kennedy months ago came out and said, "Well, it's because look at the ingredients from Fruit Loops in Canada versus the Fruit Loops here in the United States." And they're like, "Oh, this is a false allegation. The only difference is instead of carrot juice to make them orange or blueberries to make the Fruit Loops blue, we've got red dye 40 and all this." And you're like, how
is this a fact check?
What are you talking about? Shame on you. Absolutely shame on you for that.
It's because the media is taking the money from the big pharma as well and the big food as well. And they don't want to have to admit that for our whole life, basically, they've been putting these cheap poisons in our food to save some money.
Well, we try not to cuss on this show, but I want to say a cuss word. I'm not going to take medical advice from the effing side who is telling me that kids need puberty blockers you can go ahead and chop off the breast of a healthy 14-year-old girl. You dumbasses, I will not believe anything you say.
I think that's definitely a cause to question their judgment on everything else.
Yeah.
Secretary Kennedy thanks Vice President J.D. Vance when he wrote this. When I see all these senators trying to lecture and gotcha Bobby Kennedy today, all I can think of is you all support off-label, untested, and irreversible hormone therapies for children, mutilating our kids and enriching Big Pharma. You're full of excrement, and everyone knows it. So to your point, Rob, that's exactly what the vice president said.
Well, since the vice president said the SHIT, I did too. So, I feel validated here.
There you go. Benny Johnson on this RFK. This is what we're witnessing here is a collaborative effort to target RFK, to try to get him to resign or to try to get Trump from fire him. Donald Trump is now, earlier this week, he tweeted or put it out on Truth Social that he's questioning whether Operation Warp Speed was a success. He's insinuating that Pfizer lied to him. And so that
why would they have lied to him?
I think that's a huge move. Because Trump has repeatedly said, this was my greatest success or something. And now he's at least saying maybe not.
Well, we saw the Project Veritas undercover thing there that just said that Pfizer, basically, their only thing that they're doing right now at all was COVID-19 vaccines. And you're just like, okay, why? Because there's hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars at stake there. So why in the world would they have lied?
Right. Why would they lie? But Benny Johnson says there's now a CIA component here. He says whistleblowers inside HHS and the CDC have just sent Benny Johnson critical information on an active sabotage operation taking place within the federal health departments. Left-wing bureaucrats are in total panic over RFK shutting down their big pharma grift and are trying to take down the agencies from the inside, and they're using the CIA to do it. This is how it's happening. According to Benny Johnson, career CDC bureaucrats are distributing a CIA manual entitled Simple Sabotage to their subordinates. He writes, I have multiple whistleblowers with firsthand direct evidence of this. The CDC ranks are now acting out this CIA strategy to the letter. The walkouts, the corporate media hits, the fake protests, and Senate hearings, it's all staged to systematically sabotage Trump's health agenda. And the thread goes on, and he has receipts. You see this document here, demand written orders, misunderstand orders, ask endless questions, or engage in long correspondence about such orders, quibble over them when you can, do everything possible to delay the delivery of orders. And so this is...
Oh, wait a minute. Don't skip past this one, because that number 2 right there that's still on the screen.
Read that one, Rob.
Try to commit acts for which large numbers of people could be responsible.
Wow. So you insulate yourself.
So that you insulate yourself and all of the other, people who are like committing this subterfuge here. Like you're talking about an internal bomb that they're trying to set so that it takes down RFK and essentially takes down Trump.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And we're against democracy. We're anti-American.
I mean, shouldn't RFK just use this report and then fire a whole lot of people? I mean, honestly, like right now, if the CDC and FDA went away today, would the health of this country get better or worse?
Oh,
And
I think
you
it would.
could-
I think it would 100% get better.
You can make an argument it would get better.
Yeah, I think it would be hard. I think it would be harder to argue that it would get worse than it is to intellectually argue that it would get better. Same way with FEMA. When you're talking about what FEMA actually does, I would say anytime there's a natural disaster in North Carolina, Florida, whatever, I would say send those funds to Florida. Mm-hmm. I mean, I trust Ron DeSantis with a natural disaster far greater than I could ever trust FEMA with it. So you want to talk about these government organizations that are designed to help and aid the citizens of the United States when all they do are slush funds for just stealing this money from these people that are in charge. And we see that. We've seen that. The rot has got to be taken out.
I agree. The only reason I want the agencies to stay around is if RFK's in charge and actually gets people, like, exposes all the corruption. And again, I want to see arrests. I want to see criminal referrals and arrests for this as well. Lastly, on the show today, we want to talk about a hearing, another congressional hearing that took place yesterday. It was during the confirmation hearing for the nominee for Assistant Secretary of State by the name of Riley Barnes. And in Riley Barnes' opening statement, he or she said, I guess she said, "We are a nation founded on a powerful principle, and that powerful principle is that all men are created equal because of our rights come from God, our Creator, not from our laws, not from our governments." This statement from the nominee drew the ire or the ear of Virginia Senator Tim Kaine, who took issue with the verbiage of our nation's founding.
Oh, wow.
Listen to this.
The notion that rights don't come from laws and don't come from the government, but come from the Creator, that's what the Iranian government believes. It's a theocratic regime that bases its rule on Shia law and targets Sunnis, Baha'is, Jews, Christians, and other religious minorities. And they do it because they believe that they understand what natural rights are from their Creator.
What a
so
complete
the
dick.
statement that our rights do not come from our laws or our governments is extremely troubling.
Yeah.
The boomer boomer atheists can't cycle out of government fast enough for me.
What a complete moron. Okay, I got a couple of things. Number one, when the hell did Tim Kaine morph into Doc Brown? Okay,
Marty!
He looks like he's got 1.21 gigawatts running through his body right now.
What the heck
and his
is a
stupidity.
gigawatt?
Yeah, he's so. Oh my gosh, I can't. Thank God Trump beat, Hillary in 2016, or this guy would have been our vice president.
I know.
Like me, if you don't, listeners, if you've forgotten this name, he was Hillary's vice president.
He always has a demonic grin. But he really does.
He seems like he's the smartest person in the room, and you're just like, are you going to go home tonight, Tim Kaine, and pray? Are you going to sit there and say that our founding fathers didn't reference God at all in the Constitution, in the Declaration of Independence?
Like, as I was saying earlier, how the Constitution really hasn't mattered in this country for 100 years. Like, if you were to go back to the founding, it would feel like a revolution to somebody like Tim Kaine.
Can you imagine if Tim Kaine, met up with Marty here and they got in the time machine, right? And they went back to the founding of our country and he said, "Hey, by the way, in 2025, guys, I'm going to be on the Senate floor here and in this committee, and I'm going to be arguing that that this country wasn't created by God, that it wasn't given to us by God, that we were not endowed by God." What do you guys think about that?
They would actually try him and convict him.
I'm pretty sure he'd been hanged
for blasphemy, because blasphemy laws were legal in America until the 1930s.
Dude would have been swinging.
Yeah, they would have literally charged him with blasphemy.
Yeah. And
a person and they probably would have written in the Constitution, if they knew. There's no doubt in my mind the Constitution would explicitly acknowledge the lordship of Jesus Christ.
I would say, Tim Kaine, you complete and utter piece of garbage, although I still love you as a brother in Christ. It's hard to love you right now, but you're a piece of garbage right now in my mind.
Well, I mean, he's not your brother in Christ.
Oh, that's true. He's not.
There's no way he's a Christian.
Well, Jesus would love him. I don't love him right now. But I want to say this. I want to ask him, have you read the Constitution that you swore an oath to uphold. And then if you haven't, you need to go read it.
Yeah.
First of all, you need to resign.
Well, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, yes, he should
Correct.
read both of those.
Which are riddled with references to our Creator, right? And so you're trying to tell me that this guy stood there with this little grin on his face. And he's like, we make the laws here. He almost sounds like that guy, like, I'm the boss. We're the boss here.
Yeah.
What do you mean that there's somebody over us? No. We're the boss. And you mean to tell me that you don't believe that the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were inspired by faithful followers
Christians.
of Christ?
Yeah. Well, to an atheist or to somebody who is demonically possessed, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
He looks demonically possessed.
What I'm saying is hearing that rights come from like there's nothing more, with the godless communist Soviet Union, there was nothing more intimidating about the idea that the state is not the final authority. Tim Kaine wants to be God. Tim Kaine wants the government to be God, and the idea that there's a higher power is devastating to them. And the idea that there are people like us that believe in a higher power devastates them because they are totalitarians.
Yes, and they struggle to believe that we believe Donald Trump was saved by God. So that
you mean with Ed Butler?
In Butler,
Oh, yeah.
he was saved by God
to
save this country, and they can't stand it.
Oh yeah, no. There's no doubt that they wish the shooter would have been successful.
Oh yeah,
not a chance. Rob Spencer, thank you so much. It's always great to have you on the show as my co-host.
Paul, it's always
great.
an honor to be here talking about the news of the day, and I want to say bravo to RFK today, who every time I was listening to it, every time I got back in my truck and I was listening to it, the streaming of it, I was like, man, this dude's putting on a master class on how to handle these, and it's easy when you're standing in the realm of righteousness, when you are standing on the side of truth, it's easy to argue against these.
No, I agree with you there, and. RFK endorsing Trump when he did a year ago, it's now been over a year ago now, created this new coalition, and we wouldn't even be having these discussions. We wouldn't even be having Elizabeth Warren triggered if Trump hadn't gone to bat for RFK Jr. and the Senate hadn't confirmed him. We wouldn't be here right now. We're right on the cusp of a lot of truth. I hope the accountability comes behind it, but I also, moving forward, that we're actually a healthier country, and we expose big pharma and big food. So
and make sure you're following us on all social medias. At Paul Talk Show, all of this stuff, and big thanks to our sponsors.
Absolutely, 100%. Red Vive, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, Sherrod Chiropractic, folks. We also want to remind you to go to paultalkshow.substack.com. You see it on your screen there. If you would like to become a paid subscriber to what we're doing here, would very much appreciate it. And if you become a paid subscriber, either monthly or yearly, you will receive a copy of Left Wing Will and the Red Pill, the game that laughs at the left's expense. So that's all the time that we have. Have a great weekend. We will be back here on Monday. God bless everybody out there watching, and we'll see you soon.